So I recently met an atheist on TikTok who was actually kind enough to come by the podcast and be interviewed. And it went about exactly as I thought it would. Now this all started off, guys, on TikTok when this individual found one of my TikToks, and I don't remember which. And after about a week or so of back and forth on TikTok, I told him, well, you know what? If you so strongly stand for the things that you stand for, and if you so strongly stand against God, why not come onto the show and defend your ideals in real time? And to my surprise, he actually accepted. So here are some clips from the show, and these are the most important ones that I wanted to address, guys, because it is very clear that there are some deep fallacies that are embedded within atheism that they don't realize are there, and I want to address them with you guys one by one.
Even if the Big Bang Theory is proven to be absolutely false, like we just effed that up.
Yeah.
And evolution, for some reason, is not even the case. That is absolutely false. It still does not mean that, okay, we got that wrong, therefore God. Science will just continue to try and figure out what the actual cause and reason is. So even if, we got it completely wrong, it doesn't mean that it's God.
Now, this was a common theme throughout the conversation. Nick, also known as the Chicago Atheist, states that the Big Bang Theory and evolution may or may not be correct. However, regardless of the reliability of said theories, it can't be God no matter what. He's willing to put his faith in men who are constantly wrong and incorrect simply because he has too much spite for God to put any faith in him.
The Bible is made up of 66 books, written over 1,500 years, by 40 different writers, from different backgrounds, on 3 different continents, obviously before social media, before contact, before these people even knew each other or knew of each other, didn't know that the other person was writing scripture or writing any parts of what even back then wasn't known as the Bible. They were just writing what God told them to write. So how do you reconcile the fact that those authors were not only from not the same continent, but not the same culture, not even the same time period?
I highly doubt that was the case. I couldn't imagine corroborating stories from separate continents about the same guy that claims to have been God. I don't know. I'm at a loss for this one because it's quite a large claim with zero corroborating evidence.
Now I want you guys to notice how completely caught off guard he was when confronted with this information. He spent the majority of his answers stuttering because it was clear that he had absolutely no idea what the history of the Bible and its composition actually was. But then, he unfortunately reverted to his go-to atheist answer. There is no corroboration that the Bible had 40 different authors from 3 different continents, 2,200 miles apart, over a time span of 1,500 years. Well, unfortunately for Nick and the entire atheist movement, these authors and their origins have been confirmed and verified hundreds of times by historians spanning time all over the world. I've provided about half a dozen links or so, providing you guys with the identities of these authors, their lineages, their history, and of course, their writings. Check them out and then you tell me, did countless historians and archaeologists throughout the span of time all decide to come together and come to a false conclusion just to confirm the Bible? It seems like there would be many out there that would make that claim, obviously because they don't want the Bible to be true. Clearly, because I interviewed one of them who almost swallowed his tongue when confronted with the facts that blew his entire atheist ideology out of the water.
God's perfect creation, he created us in his likeness and image. We are fallen and sinners. So since he created us faulty, he has to make innocent children suffer.
He's not making them do it. God, that is not God. God is not the source of iniquity. That would be Lucifer. That's 2 completely different things.
No. So Lucifer didn't create the world.
No, he didn't.
Okay, firstly, I want to know anywhere in scripture where human beings were God's perfect creation. We were created in God's image. To call human beings perfect is to make the assertion that we are like God. Even if Eve had never taken a bite from the forbidden fruit, we would never have God's sovereignty or perfection. Now, aside from that, he continues to make the accusation that God created sin. Well, here's the crux of it. God created us knowing that we would be fallen because the alternative would have been to destroy us. So he decided to allow us to live in sin, but apart from him. because to be in his presence after filling yourself with iniquity would be deadly to us. I find it very strange that a person would call God hateful for allowing you to live in sin when the alternative is judgment and death. Of course, God knows the outcome of our choices and where we're going to be for eternity. But you and I don't know that. God allows us to make our choices the same way that parents allow their children to make choices. How often have you given your son or daughter the option to make a decision even knowing that they were going to choose poorly? Well, why do we allow this as parents? Because when it comes down to it, we want our children to pick the right path, and allowing someone to have a choice is the greatest act of love there is. God is not going to force you into his presence for eternity. He's going to give you whatever you wanted. If you chose him in life, he's going to choose you for eternity. If you chose to reject him in life, he's going to give you what you wanted forever, and that is separation from him. Even though it hurts him, and that's not the choice he wanted you to make, he wasn't going to violate your free will and make you choose him. That's not love, that's control. But Nick's thought process was that God should have just not allowed us to exist to begin with because he knew so many would not choose him. A strange statement from someone with a young child. Why would he even be able to conceive of a reality where God didn't bless him with the life of his child? Honestly, I could only conclude that his hatred for God is so strong that it pretty much trumps everything else in his thought process.
And there's people in the comments who are actually saying it sounds like Nick wants to do whatever he wants but still have the same reward as people who choose Christ at the end. What do you have to say to that?
I'm not looking for any reward for heaven. I just want to spread love and make sure my son has a good home. And any good deeds I do isn't because I think there's a God watching me. I fully don't believe or feel like I'm going to heaven. In fact, I think I stated earlier, if there was a God, I wouldn't want to anyway.
And there's where he hits the nail right on the head, guys. I've heard this answer from so many atheists, and truthfully, I appreciate the honesty if nothing else. You have to find it interesting when a person who is so adamant that God doesn't exist says he wouldn't want to go to heaven anyway. If you're so sure that God does not exist, then why are you hell-bent on attributing everything bad to him? And in that same thread, how can you blame him for everything bad and not give him credit for the constant good things that happen every single day? It doesn't make any sense to me. However, I will say that he was very respectful and intelligent. Regardless of his viewpoints, it was still a pleasant and revealing conversation, and I'm very grateful to Nick for coming by the show. So if he's watching this again, I'd like to thank him one more time. As always, guys, thank you so much for stopping by. If you like the channel, please go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and share the video with anyone you think may like it. Also, click that bell for event notifications, please, guys. It really does help the channel a lot. Always be safe, be good, be blessed. Remember that Jesus is King and the only way to heaven, and I'll see you guys around. Thank you so much.